Hello and welcome to A Daily Burn. I'm your host, Erica Miller. I'm joined today by an awesome progressive from the great state of California running for a House seat, California's 29th district, which we'll take a look at here, San Fernando Valley. Angelica Duenas. How you doing, Angelica?
I'm doing well. How are you, Eric? How are you today?
Doing well, doing well. I hopefully I didn't butcher your last name. I was practicing a little bit.
Nope, you said it great. That's perfect.
Awesome.
Duenas. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. What we're, you're running against an incumbent Democrat who, takes a, a ton of corporate PAC money, which you do not. And we'll have ample time to talk about how terrible he is in regards to that. And I want to share some great memes that you have on your website, and we'll look at the district. But, just kind of going back a little bit about your political activism. You were a Bernie delegate in 2016. You ran Green Party candidate for this seat in 2018, which was a crowded field. What inspired you to move into the Democratic Party, and what did you learn from that former race? And that, so you went to the DNC and you fought that fight on the front lines. Like, what have you learned, and what inspired you to run this time around again?
Yeah, well, I mean, the main reason why um, we decided to run is because of our terrible representation. As you mentioned, Tony Cardenas takes a ton of corporate money. He's been around for a very long time. He's represented our community at every level, pretty much, for over 23 years. And so that was one of the main reasons, why we decided to run. Well, we felt that somebody needed to challenge our current representative. As you mentioned, last time around in 2018, I ran a Green Party, which we did pretty okay under the circumstances. Green Party is like 0.3% of the registered voter in our
Right.
district, and we got about 6.5% of the vote. So we did
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
And it really tells you a lot about our district. Our district is very progressive and is looking for changes. This time around, we're running a Democrat, and nothing really has changed. Our platform is identical, really. The main difference is now we're running Democrat. The reason why, it was really for strategy reasons. Let's be real. We live in a duopoly here in the United States. It's a two-party system. As much as people love it or hate it, this is what we're dealing with. And we also were aware that Bernie Sanders was going to be running again. So we wanted to make sure that we were in a position to be able to support Bernie Sanders and any other progressives that would be running on the Democratic ticket. And so it was a strategic reason. Our district is Democrat, and the second biggest group after Democrat is no party preference, which in reality, if you talk to these people, it's really pissed off Democrats. So it's a very Democrat district.
Right. I like the way you phrase that. Yeah, undecided whether I should bother voting for a Democrat. Right. That's what undecided means. Right.
Yeah.
So let's look at the district before we get too much further in the weeds. And I want to plug your website several times as we go. You're in the general election, so primaries are passed. It's you against the Democratic incumbent, so there's no risk of a Republican taking the seat. It's a
Yep.
D
Two
plus,
Democrats. That's
right?
right.
Yep. And it's a D plus 29 district, so you actually get to vote for someone that's will fight for what you want them to fight for, rather than like out of a fear vote or lesser of two evils or something like that. So it's California 29th. It's San Fernando Valley, San Fernando, Van Nuys, a little bit of North Hollywood. Like I said, a safe Democratic district.
Hmm.
I like to pull it up, and we'll talk a little bit about policy, housing, Green New Deal, et cetera, et cetera. But let me just give you kind of a chance to brag on your district. What's great about CA 29 for you?
Well, I mean, I was born and raised in Sun Valley, and I really do love my community. It's a community that has really shown me just throughout the years that people come together and really help each other out. And it's really out of necessity. I think that, the working poor and the working class have really have had to depend on each other just because of lack of resources and the lack of trust of, government really being there, because as we have seen, we really can't count on them. So it's a community that really has love for each other, and has really come out and to support each other. We're seeing it right now during the pandemic. We're seeing a lot of groups coming out throughout LA and here in the district as well, trying to do our best to help each other out. It's a community that is working class that really it has tried as I mean, I can talk about my street, for example, my block. You see the story of, I think most of us here in the valley, people who do the right thing. Maybe some of us got stuck in drugs or gangs and stuff, but some of us didn't. Some of us went to school. We did the right thing. We got jobs, and we're still not able to move out. For example, like if you look up and down my street, I have my peers that did the right thing. They didn't get in trouble, let's say, growing up. And instead of being able to move out and start a life on their own, they're really actually what ends up happening is they get married and they move their partner in and they end up growing their family here with their parents, which I think is actually beautiful. I am here as a caretaker for my mother. My dad just passed away last month and I was a caretaker for him as well.
Sorry.
And it was, it's a community really that we live in within my own property, really, right, with my parents and my mom and my aunt and everyone coming together to help each other out. And that's really what we see here in this community. We see people coming out and really helping each other out. The nuclear family model doesn't really I mean, obviously, it's something that the American, I guess it's like the norm, more or less, but not really here in our community. What we're seeing is a lot of mixed situations. We have friends that live together with family and grandparents who stick around, and aunts and uncles, and you know what I mean. We have a mixed situation because of necessity. And at the end of it all, it also creates culture, and it's really an idea of coming together and really helping out. And I think that that's what we see a lot here in this community, is that people have a sense of like community, in the sense that people will come out to fight for each other. We saw like way back with Prop 187, when Prop 187 back in like the mid 90s, like our people came out in droves and stuff. When Price Pfister, which was a factory that was that shut down in 97. The community also came out in numbers to try and prevent that from happening. Unfortunately, it did close down because of NAFTA. It was just cheaper for them to shut down here and move to Mexico. And these other things throughout the years that we've seen people come out and really stand up for each other. And now we're seeing it with the Black Lives Matter. We're seeing with Breonna Taylor. We're seeing it with Andres Guardado too, just like police brutality in general, that our community is really becoming a lot more aware and a lot more, I would say, like, I'm really proud of my community because we're getting more brave to come out in the street and really speak up for each other, and for those who can't.
Yeah, that's amazing. A lot of beautiful things you said in there. The cultural and familial aspect of those cohabitations and things like that are wonderful, but there's also the component that is it's by necessity, right? You mentioned a nuclear family, and those days are gone because generationally we're saddled with $200,000 in student debt, and we're not covered by our parents' health care. So you need to, as soon as you graduate, you need to start working so you can get health care and start paying that student loan debt, right? So you start off in the home. People are getting married older, having kids later in life, forget about buying a home, all that stuff, right? So it's, while it's lovely, it's also a bit of necessity. And you certainly know that, and I know one of the issues that you're passionate about is housing, right? And there's a housing crisis in your district, and that's no small part of it, right? Can you talk about your solutions for the housing crisis?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can talk a little bit about what we're experiencing here in our district.
Please.
Since I was a kid, we've had homelessness be a problem here in the San Fernando Valley, but it's becoming worse and worse. Studies have shown that, about 40% of the unhoused community in Los Angeles actually are employed. They have jobs. So the stereotype that people who are unhoused is people who have no jobs, or maybe they have mental health issues, or drug abuse problems, or there's this picture of what is somebody who is having problems with being unhoused. And in reality, what we're seeing is we're seeing people who are working who just simply cannot afford to pay the rent. We're seeing a whole lot more of that. We're seeing students, interestingly enough, who aren't even aware that they're homeless, that they're just, oh, I'm couch surfing, I'm between places. And it's like, no,
Mhm.
you're actually don't have, you're homeless, you
Yeah.
don't have a place to stay. And it's a denial too that we have going on top of it all. But what we're seeing is really lack of affordable housing. I really do believe that we need to work on strengthening our affordable housing programs. Create affordable housing, which we do have some programs around, but we need to have more of them. Some of these housing units is like if you make so much money, or if let's say you're working and you get a raise, or you get a promotion, or you get a new job, and now you're making more money than you did before. You may at some point not qualify to live in your affordable housing unit anymore, so you'll get kicked out.
Mhm.
At that point, what we're doing is disincentivizing people to really advance themselves, because they have a risk of losing their affordable housing, where they might be up $800 a month, let's say, with a promotion, but now that they have to pay market rate rent, they might actually be down, $1,000 at the end of it all in reality. So we really need to create affordable housing programs where people are not going to be pushed out of it, where you have a cap. It's XYZ% of your income up until whatever affordable market rate is set. And
Right.
after that, you're getting ahead, and ideally, able to save and to purchase a home and to move out on your own, right? I
Right.
think that those are things that we need to really incentivize. We need to look at also we need to also be realistic and understand that not everybody just needs housing. Some people do need wraparound services. Some people are going to need more than just a place to live. They're going to need care. They're going to need help. They're going to need guidance. So I am a believer and a supporter of bridge housing. So like basically like a housing unit where at the bottom floor you can have counselors, communal spaces, places where where folks can get food and get computer labs and help with finding jobs, and any other help that they might need. And obviously healthcare. I believe that healthcare for all is something that we need to emphasize, and that is would also help with addressing the unhoused, and mental health services included. So we believe that we need to we believe that there's enough resources there. Like if we were to cut back on military spending by 50%, not only will we still be able to cover all of the things that we cover now with the military, but we will actually be able to cover, caring for people, and to understand that if we have a sick community, we're seeing it now with the pandemic, we're not safe. So that's something that really should be considered in I guess homeland security, right? There's other things than just war and military and defense, right? That goes with
Yeah.
being safe. So these are all
Yeah.
these things, and it we are fighting for so much, really. If you have a chance, if you take a look at our website, angelicaforcongress.com, and take a look at more detail as to like what our plans are. But we really do believe that Medicare for All, a Green New Deal, a really well-rounded Green New Deal, and which includes affordable housing in it, really is what we need to go towards, to find solutions. And especially right now during the pandemic, we need to find real solutions that are going to bail out the people, not the
Mhm.
corporations.
Right on. So just in that, so yeah, you tick all the boxes for the progressive policies, Green New Deal, Medicare for All. So if you were elected and you were in the House, you would sign on to Ilhan Omar's rent control bill. You would sign
Yes,
on to the Miller.
absolutely. I think that it's terrible. It's really criminal what we saw. We saw it twice. We had two of the biggest wealth transfers that went down in the last 6 months, where Congress and the Senate basically authorized for trillions of dollars after all of these loans get flexed out that, these mega corporations are going to be having access to, which is ironic because, we were down for like, what, 2 weeks? And these people got their money like this. And we got $1,200 if you were lucky. Some people got unemployment benefits if you were lucky. What we should have really seen would have been a cancellation, not a pause, not a moratorium, but a cancellation of rent, mortgages, utilities. And that's where the bailout should have happened. That's where the government should have stepped in to bail us out. And that should have been for businesses and individuals.
Yeah. And you would sign on to Pramila Jayapal's Medicare for All bill. You would vote against the military budget that goes up and up and up and up, right? So if Angelica was in the House, we could rely on her for those votes because she's not corporately controlled, unlike the incumbent, right? So let's get to how terrible the incumbent is, right? And I pulled up some awesome memes from your website, and I'll just kind of let you talk to them, right? There's three. I couldn't pick which one was the best one, so I pulled all three. So talk about this.
Yes.
This
oh my God.
Where you got your funding and where he's gotten his funding. And this is in the last cycle, but still holds true. Speak to this a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, this really shows us where his loyalties lie. He has been in power in our community since 1996. When he started off as assembly person, moved on to be city council, and now Congress. And we've been seeing pretty much of the same. He accepts corporate funding from everywhere. And we see that it has affected the way that he's able to represent our community. He is somebody that is either quiet on all the issues or quietly is voting against our community. He's a person that you really can't get a statement from, to go out and speak on something. The best you'll get is maybe a written statement. And mostly you get a signature off of somebody else's, action. This guy is just sitting around literally taking space, taking money from mega corporations. He's the chair of the Bold Pack. He's the chair of the Hispanic Caucus. He's the chair of a bunch of, he's got a lot of title and a lot of position. And unfortunately, I think he misunderstood what it meant to be the chair. And what we've been seeing really is just him sitting on his butt doing a whole lot of nothing, but, really wasting space. And it was something that we wondered about a lot. But after digging and looking at where his funding comes from, his lack of action really is now very clear as to why. He is not representing the people. And really what he's doing is like he's a party puppet. Most recently, right now, we are hearing that he has applied to the position of Assistant Speaker of the House. Which is ironic, like I mentioned, because he doesn't say anything. He never has we can't get a statement out of him. He doesn't go out to speak to the public. We don't see him out here. He doesn't have town halls. When people go to his office to try and set up a meeting, the doors are locked. So it's really difficult to get a hold of him. And, all of a sudden now he wants to be the assistant speaker, which, really kind of tells us that he's really eyeing the speaker seat. So, it's really dangerous, this guy that we have, not so much for what he is doing, which he is doing a whole lot of terrible things. He's taking a whole lot of money from terrible corporations. He's helping actively to elect a bunch of neoliberals throughout the country. And what's more dangerous, I think, is because people here in our community may be under the impression because he's Latino, he is from our community, and he's a Democrat, that he has our best interest in mind. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is that, here in California and Los Angeles, everyone's a Democrat. Everyone's blue. So like this idea of like Democrat good, Republican bad, I think that we can really see that it's not so as simple as that. That we really need to take a look at who are these people, where their money's coming from, what are
Right.
the issues that they're mostly caring about, and what are they fighting for.
Yeah.
Tony Cardenas likes to tout as his biggest accomplishment was to rename a post office after Marilyn Monroe.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
And that's it.
while that's lovely, that does not really materially benefit his constituency,
It
right?
sure doesn't.
There's
Absolutely not.
it's I just want to point out one thing on here that's very explicit, right? So his top two is DaVita and the Blue Cross Blue Shield, and coincidentally, he opposes Medicare for all. But I'll bet
Yeah.
you, I bet if I went to his website, it would say healthcare is a right and everyone deserves
Oh yeah.
quality and
Mhm.
affordable access to healthcare, right?
Yeah, he says that he's all about access to healthcare, and yeah, and an environmental champion. Yet he will not back a Green New Deal. And
Some of these others are energy companies, right?
yeah, exactly. He belongs to oh gosh, I just shut it down. But the committee that actually oversees healthcare, oversees the utilities, oversees all these corporations that are actually giving him tens of thousands of dollars with each campaign. So we
Yeah,
already know that he's been compromised. He really can't represent us. He's not able to represent us.
right. Yeah, and that's, let me make a point about that too, because he sits on committees, right? So, while he's hiding in plain sight. I hate to be as cynical about it, but kind of as an identity candidate in a demographic district that might just take him at face value, literally, like you said, because he's Hispanic, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's actively working against those interests at a national level, right? So, there
Right.
are seats like this and there are guys like this. Like you said, he doesn't do town halls. He doesn't come to the district. He doesn't do that. I'm assuming probably little chance of a debate. But this is one of those seats like everyone needs to, around the country needs to identify seats like this, like the Alex Morse race in Massachusetts was a great one, right? That, we
Mm-hmm.
almost flipped, right? This is a guy that's doing more harm and hiding in plain sight. So wherever you are in the country, even if you're not in California's 29, this is a race that has bigger ramifications than just the district, right? So,
Right.
Angelica is not a corporate PAC, recipient. She's not a puppet. She's not bought. You hear her platform. We all need to get behind her and reclaim this seat for a public servant like Angelica. So sorry to get on the soapbox there, but there are races, right? And it. You felt the gut punch when Bernie suspended his campaign, and I'm sure you felt it when Charles Booker just got this close, right? In Kentucky to winning that primary. But
Yes.
there still are races that matter, right? And this is
Hmm.
one on November 3rd. Like we can make a real difference and get another progressive champion. Like imagine Angelica on the floor, fighting her fight. That instead of a corporate puppet. That's exactly what our government is supposed to be. And you have, your educational background is in politics and public policy. You have a master's? Am I right about that?
Yeah, so I have a bachelor's degree in political science, public administration, and I have a master's in organizational leadership.
See, hey, come on, like that's exactly who we want. It's not like another lobbyist or another attorney or nothing against all attorneys, but
No,
mostly.
I'm just a mom that's been, I've been a human resources professional for the last 10 years or so, office administration, and, really trying to make workplaces better, protecting workers, and, letting employers know what they're doing wrong and what we need to do to get things right. Which
Yeah,
maybe it doesn't make me the best HR person on one side of things, but it does allow me to be able to keep things fair and to really make things right. Because a lot of the times people, um, well, giving people the benefit of the doubt, are doing things unknowingly, and a lot of the times is making people aware. And I think that goes the same with how we're with politics. You know what I mean? I think that um, in our community, people have been voting Democrat and Latino and this and that, and just thinking that that's the right thing to do, and unknowingly have been actually hurting themselves in the process. So that's what it comes down to, is like educating the masses, educating our community, letting people know that we're here as an alternate choice. If you take a look at our district, and the previous elections, what we've been able to do is huge. Like, the Republican is usually a big enough chunk to be able to take on the second place position, but we were able to get through the general to the general, with 100% people power, $10,000, and just pounding the pavement and knocking on doors and text messaging, and making sure that our message was transparent. And we were able to do amazingly well. And so that really tells us that our district is ready for change, and that all we really need to do is let people know that we're here. And from what we're hearing is that, this is going to be a close race. I mean, honestly, we need your help. If you are in the district, if you're in Los Angeles, if you're in the San Fernando Valley, please, come on down, give us a hand. If you're not able to, or maybe you're not local, but you have a couple of, some change to spare, please, help us out. Angelicaforcongress.com. Nobody gets paid. Nobody's getting a salary. We're doing this is a labor of love. And we have an amazing team of people who are willing to give everything, and they have been, and we have been. But yeah, we need your help to get us to the finish line. And just like we saw it in Tennessee with Marquita, I think that we're going to be able to see it here, in the 29th congressional district, where a few tens of thousands of dollars can beat $1 million, $2 million, if people power is behind it. And I think that this will be a great opportunity to show our community, here in Los Angeles and across the country and the world, really, that people power can beat corporate power. And basically, when we organize, we do win. And I think this is a beautiful opportunity to show all of our people that the fight continues. That we knew that regardless of what was going to happen with the Bernie race, if he made it through to November, if he won or if he didn't, the fight continues. And this is where we're at. This is a long haul. And regardless of what happens in November, we already know that the fight continues, and we're ready for that.
Here, here. Awesome. Well said. I just want to clarify, it's Angelica FOR Congress, right?
Yes, Angelicaforcongress.com. And right there, you can take a look at our platform. If you're interested in volunteering, you can sign up to volunteer. If you would like to donate, you also have the opportunity to donate there.
Right on. So that message is amazing, and I keep saying FOR Congress just to clarify, right? So that message is amazing, and you say it's a close race. Is it resonating? Like when you're out, it's tough to be campaigning in the current pandemic, and you have to do it cautiously and remotely and virtually and all that stuff, and do meeting appearances like this and stuff. But are you getting what's the feedback? Are you getting inspirational feedback? Are you getting people that are like, this guy has been here for so many years and my life has not improved? Like, what are you hearing back from constituents when you do communicate with them directly?
Yeah, no, people, it's a bit of a mix. So people either don't know who he is, like they just don't know who he is. He's been around for a long time.
Yeah, that says everything.
Yeah, so they either don't know who he is, or if they do know who he is, they don't like him. And that's really what we've been getting at. And on the flip side, what we're seeing more is actually people who are inspired by our race, specifically the issues that we're fighting for, the fact that we are unafraid to speak up on the issues that people care about, that we are speaking up and going out and standing in solidarity with the people, with the community. Me being a community activist, a leader here, within my local community, has really made it so that I understand, we understand the importance of people who have the privilege to be able to be out and speaking out, the importance of us having to do that. It's a responsibility. So I think that that's something that we've been seeing, is that the people are very, I guess, pleased by this option that we're offering. We have been sending out postcards, handwritten postcards. Our volunteers are sending out like really cute handwritten postcards that people are really connecting with. I've been getting phone calls and emails and stuff from people that have received it. We've been getting phone calls from people who get, so we're doing right now no knock canvassing, or, um, we're just doing door hangers.
Right.
So instead of knocking and talking to folks how we normally would have been doing, we're doing just door hangers. And even with that, because we were concerned, like, oh, I wonder if that's going to be enough, if people are just going to see like an advertisement, like how are people going to respond to it? And so far, obviously, we've passed out a bunch and we only get like a handful of response. But what they say, for every one response is like a couple of hundred, right?
Right.
So we have actually gotten phone calls, we have gotten emails, we have gotten people who either are curious and have a question, or they are sold and they want to, support our campaign, or they want a yard sign or something like that. So it's been great. Not as, I think that both, like, the community is a little bit wary, right, to people just to go out because of COVID. So our volunteers. So
Right.
I say, like, instead of having a higher number of canvassers like we would normally, we have a higher number of, like, phone bankers. So we are doing phone banking. We're calling people. We're leaving. Most people don't answer. You know how it goes nowadays. So leaving voicemails and stuff like that. We've been text messaging people, and then just doing social media really hard. And I think that these are the things where we have an advantage, because incumbents are not, they're just not, what's the word I'm looking for, they're not being creative, you know what I mean, and how they need to campaign, because they're just feeling so safe, right? So they do the mailer thing, and that's about it. And we haven't really seen much from Tony yet.
Right.
So I mean,
Good.
in reality, the people out there are kind of under the impression that we're the ones that are running. Like, they're not seeing Tony. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting. It's a
Good.
mixed
Good.
bag, because we're not be able to do as much as we wish we would have been able to, but at the same time, it's made it so that people are getting creative, and there's other things that we're doing a whole lot more of that we
Right.
weren't planning on before. So
Right.
it's been interesting, to say
So
the least.
I imagine on the website people can volunteer from anywhere in the country to sign up for phone banking, sign up to send texts, donate as well. I want to share a story, give kind of cue you up, right? There's I was looking through your history a little bit, and you are a fighter, right? So we're in this time where Donald Trump just yesterday said, he isn't committing to a peaceful transfer of power. We have the Supreme Court justice seat that's up, and we're hoping that feckless corporate Democratic leadership is actually going to fight, but
We'll
they're
see.
they're pre-surrendering and things like that, which brings me to, once upon a time you got arrested in Dianne Feinstein's office, right? Can you share that story? And I'm sharing it only to demonstrate how much of a fighter you are.
Yeah, so that was, gosh, a couple of years ago. What happened was that at that point, we were hoping, that the Democrats were gonna put, their energy behind Dreamers, and we were pushing for a Dream Act. Like, so right now we have DACA, which is a temporary deferment. Basically, every I think 4 years, these kids have to sign up and reapply to basically have their deportation deferred. And so what we were fighting for was a real Dream Act, like a path to citizenship for these kids, for a permanent solution, not a band-aid. And so myself, along with other activists, including a dreamer who was leading this action, went to Dianne Feinstein's office with the hopes to be able to speak with Diane. Well, she was out of town, but to speak with somebody in her office in regards to what our request was, our demands were. And they had reached out to her office ahead of time, so they were expecting us. And because of that, once we got there, we didn't even get through the lobby. We couldn't even get into the building. So she was like up in like, the 17th floor, wherever she was at, her office was at. But we weren't even able to get into the building. So we manifested outside, and we decided that we were going to sit down and take space and not leave until we can get a response from her office.
Right.
And it was kind of funny because like watching the video, I was like, oh wow, it happened so fast. We must have like put our butts on the ground for like 30 seconds or something, and just like that, LAPD showed up, and we got removed. And it was a little scary because they put our dreamer in the vehicle. Like they actually put him in the back seat and they closed the door. And when they took our information, thankfully the officers were just, running our information. And since they found nothing, they let us go. And basically with the warning that if we went back onto the property, we were going to be arrested and
Right.
we were going to face charges. And because we did have a dreamer with us, we didn't want to put, his status in danger. So, we left shortly after that. But this is what I say is that people of privilege, and this young man who was not in a privileged position, he was really putting himself in the on the line. But us people of privilege need to do that, put our bodies on the line. And I was arrested a little bit after that too, during the family separation protests here in LA. We were blocking, along with clergy members and one of our city councilmen, we blocked the federal, one of the driveways in the federal building here, that they were actually participating in the separating of families. And so this is what I mean is we need a fight. We need fighters. We need people who are willing to speak truth to power, people who are not compromised either by the money that they're taking or, these corporations that they're loyal to. We need people who are ready to fight the good fight. And I encourage everybody right now who is listening to us, who's watching this, to seek out positions of power and occupy them. Your ballot book is coming out soon, and take a look at who's running for what, who's sitting in what seats, and who do we need to vote out. Take a look around in your community to see who can we support and have them fill these positions. And if you don't see anybody, you might be it. And so we need to start, building our teams and really seriously start to look at seeking out power and taking it, because I think that we've been caught fighting the power and not being the power. And until we are the power, we won't be able to make the changes necessary to really make the real changes happen for our community for the better.
Here, here. Well said. Yeah. So, just I wanted you to share that story, and thanks for sharing it, because, you said it, we need fighters, right? And Angelica is a fighter. That was before you were running for any office, right? That was, you were fighting that fight.
I'm trying to remember. I think at that time I might have already finished the last run, and it was something in between.
Okay.
I mean, we're always out and about, like starting, you know what I mean? Like, well, some people would say like, making trouble. The others would say, we're fighting for what is right. And that's what we've been doing. We're activists, and that means participating in actions, right? And so not to talk smack on any, keyboard warriors out there, but, let's remember that the fight is out in the streets, and we need to get out there. It's worth it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, if you think Angelica would get to the House and then be complacent and start taking money from PG&E and et cetera, and Raytheon, you are sorely mistaken. This is a fighter, and this is who we want, in the House, fighting against, the complacency of the Democratic Party, right? Sarcastic clapping is not going to turn back fascism, right? We need fighters like Angelica. So, it's California's 29th, Angelica for Congress, FOR, Congress.com. Please donate. Please volunteer. This is a safe Democratic district. We can get a real fighter. Please support her. Share this video. Share her page. Go like her page. Like her socials, et cetera, et cetera. Tony Cardenas is not going to be fighting. He's not going to get arrested for any of this stuff, right? So,
no.
Yeah. So thank you.
Actually, the charges were dropped, right? But he did get in trouble for allegedly sexually assaulting a minor.
Oh my goodness!
So these
Wow.
are the things that we might get, he might get arrested for, but probably not defending the people
Wow.
and what's right.
Yeah. Let me give you just one more chance before we go. Is there anybody else on your slate, on your ballot, in your area that's running that you want to make mention of? Who else in your area?
Well, right now we have Fatima, who is running for assembly out in Los Angeles. We have Nithya, who's running for city council.
Do you have their last names?
Um,
Can you give their last
ooh,
names if you know
and
them?
I can put them on the chat. I don't
Okay.
want to mess them up because I do know them, but I don't want to mess them up.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Constantine, who's running for city council in Burbank. These are corporate-free candidates, and I know it's kind of terrible. Like we all know each other by first names.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Well.
Not everybody, anybody's last names and stuff, but I will definitely share as soon as we get off of here. I'll share in the comments.
Perfect.
These are people that are running corporate-free races here in Los Angeles, and are being supported by the local groups, either Sunrise Movement Los Angeles, GSA Los Angeles, Our Revolution Los Angeles. All of our local action groups that are getting behind these fantastic candidates to make, to fight for real changes, for real progress, and to do it without taking corporate money and doing it with people power. And I think that we're very fortunate in Los Angeles that we have quite a few amazing candidates that have made it through to the general. And we have quite an opportunity here to make some advances for our community.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, November 3rd, Angelica for Congress, FOR Congress, go throw her some money, volunteer. I can't wait to talk to you again and call you Representative Duenas, and and follow your journey, and your fight. I thank you for running. Thank you for all the work you've done heretofore, and thank you for standing up for your constituents. Godspeed, and let's help Angelica win on November 3rd. Thank you, Angelica, for taking the time to.
Thank you for everything that you do, and for always putting these together. I see them, so thank you so much. I watch your program when I can. I'm super busy, but when I catch it, I do. So I appreciate you, Eric, and everything that you do. Thank you, everybody. Keep up the good fight, and we'll see you out there in the streets.
Thank you.